An emotional man is a weak man. You see, in emergency or in trying times, the emotional man cries. In stressful times, the emotional man complains, plays the blame game, plays victim. You see, when life doesn't go well for the emotional man, he throws a temper tantrum like a child, gets angry, loses control over his emotions, doesn't have a grip on life, and doesn't see the bigger picture. You see, if you're an emotional man, if you're a man that's too emotional, you cannot accomplish the goals you need to live the life that you deserve. You will not be able to accomplish your goals in life. When you're emotional, you will not get far because you're not going to have the emotional intelligence to sustain the success that comes your way, or whatever adversity comes your way. You won't have the emotional intelligence to combat it. See, emotions can control. They can control your actions if you let them. And emotional men do not have control over themselves. So, they're going to let their emotions control their actions all the time. Which means that you're going to be making very stupid, very rash decisions, because those decisions were based off your emotions, something you did not think through. You're not operating in logic, and that can be a huge problem in life when you make decisions based off your emotions, like how you feel. It's dangerous to make decisions based off how you feel. But let's make something clear. Having no emotion doesn't make you a monster. It doesn't make you a beast. It doesn't make you invincible. You got to learn how to control your emotions. The key is to control one's emotions. You don't just become emotionless. You don't just become this brick wall. You have to know how to control, monitor your emotions. Know when to react and know when not to react. Because emotions are like energy, right? It's like energy in motion. And you never want to be too emotional. And you also don't want to be not emotional. You want to have a balance of your emotions. But knowing how to monitor your emotions, knowing how to control your emotions will definitely make you strong enough to do the work of God, to be the man that God wants you to be. And no emotions are involved. When you're serving the Most High, there's no emotions involved, except the emotions that you put toward serving God, because you are showing your heart to Christ. And it's important for God to see your heart. This is where you need to pour all your emotions into. You need to pour all your emotions into the Lord that you are serving. And having the emotional intelligence to solve problems, right? When you're solving problems, you have to have control over your emotions. That's a requirement in order to climb the ladder in life, in order to be where you want to be. You got to have control over your emotions. When it comes to perhaps writing a book or leveling up in your business, working on your craft, whatever, it comes down to you controlling your emotions, especially when things don't go your way, right? And when you control your emotions, you have a lot of power. And obviously this takes a lot of practice. I believe in order for you to have control over your emotions, you first have to lose control. I'm going to repeat. You first have to lose control over your emotions before you can get a grip on your emotions, because at some point you're going to fall, you're going to make a lot of mistakes, you're going to trip, stumble, you're going to be at a point in your life, at a place where you let your emotions dominate you, but this is how you know how to control your emotions, when you first let your emotions control you. Because you first have to go through something in order to learn from it, right? You don't just magically learn how to control your emotions. Controlling your emotions, emotional intelligence, that takes practice. That takes time to build up. Right? And see, emotional man becomes an emotional man when life throws a whole bunch of problems his way, and sometimes the same problems, but he never learns from the problem that he faces time and time again. He never learns from his own mistakes. Instead, he repeats the same mistake over and over again. Right? And when life throws him problems, he wants to blame everybody else, and he takes no accountability for what happened. Especially when this has happened before, the same problem keeps occurring, but he never learns from it. He never analyzes the situation from his logical mind. And you see, men, we have a logical mind, but sometimes we never use that logical mind in order to analyze the situations that we find ourselves in. Analyzing the problem, identifying what happened, and finding the solution to get out of that problem. And then the lesson that we learned from the problem. But an emotional man, in this case, will quickly blame other people. An emotional man will quickly take no accountability. He'll make excuses for himself. It's nobody else's. It's not my fault. It's everybody else's fault. That's how an emotional man reacts. It's everybody else's fault but mine. And it's very important for you guys to control your emotions. If you're someone that's over emotional, you need to get a grip. You need to learn how to control it. And do not let your emotions dominate you. If you go through enough problems in your life, eventually you're going to learn how to be emotionally intelligent. Because everything you went through, you learned something from the problem, right? You're bound to learn something. You're bound to, you know, solve the problem. You're bound to take logical action to solve the problem. As opposed before, you know, you dwelled on the problem, you complained and you made excuses and you blamed everybody else and took no accountability. That's going to happen at first. But at some point, you have to learn how to grow up and get out of that stage of not taking accountability. You got to eventually get out of that stage of just blaming everybody when things go wrong, when things don't go your way. At some point, man, you got to blame yourself. You got to take accountability. You know, it can always be something that you said or something that you did that was wrong, and you gotta really analyze that. Take the steps in order to do better next time. Whenever that problem arises, you know what to do. You learned your lesson from the first time or second time. Now when this same problem happens again, you know what to do. You know what action to take. And you're not going to be operating from your emotions. Instead, you're going to be operating from logic. And the truth about most emotional men, well, actually all emotional men, is that they do not operate from their logical mind. They operate in their emotions and they dwell on the problem instead of trying to solve the problem. And they're quick to blame everybody else and take no accountability. And you guys don't want to be in that toxic cycle. One of the key things of being a man is to have emotional intelligence. I'm out.